Howdy everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be continuing our little tutorial series on, well, getting started in space engineers in 2023 after the Automatons update. I know a lot of people are going to be joining with it, and not many tutorials are pretty up to date with it. So we're going to start out by going over what we did last time. We got a basic assembler put up. We got a cargo container, an H2O2 generator, and a refinery. We also got our survival kit, so we also always have a respawn point. And we got 5 wind turbines that will constantly keep this base powered. Now, today, we are going to be kind of adding to this a little bit so we can start making all the cool stuff, making ships, making machines and rovers and all that kind of stuff. Our biggest restriction at the moment is that our basic refinery and our basic assemblers can't do all of this stuff. So our basic assembler can only make certain parts, and these are pretty much the basic parts for stuff. Our refinery can't really refine all that many. It can refine the basic stuff like iron, nickel, cobalt, silicon, but it can't do the more complicated stuff like platinum and uranium. So, what we're going to do is we're going to get those bigger um, machines up as well as increase our inventory a little bit because we don't have very much in here. Um, but that 15,000 tends to fill up pretty quick when you start doing large scale building, mining, and everything else. So we want to be ready for it. So first off, we're going to need to go into our toolbar down here. We're going to get rid of a bunch of this. And we're going to look for the production blocks. Now here we have all of our blocks that will help with production. The projector we're not really going to mess with too much yet because that's mainly for blueprints and repairs and all that kind of stuff. What we're looking for is the assemblers and refineries. So we have a regular assembler and then we have an industrial assembler. Um, that is the heavy industry DLC. If you do not have it, that's fine. It is nothing different compared to the regular assembler. The only thing different about it is its look and where some modules will go in the future. Same thing with the refinery. You have the industrial refinery from the DLC, and you have a regular refinery that does the exact same thing. Only difference, it looks a little different, and the modules actually on this one go in the same place. So, we're going to use these two, but again, there is no difference. You just do what you think will be better for you. So for me, I want to go off of this end over here. Because I want to be able to make my platform a little bit longer, as well as save some space for cosmetic stuff, like making a room and making a computer room and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. I don't have any steel plate, which I should. And I should be making. Give me 100 of that, please. Actually, there's a bunch in there already, which I did not see. That's why you should always hit this little box. Helps you see what all you have. So, we'll put our refinery right here, because I know nothing is going to the left out of the back side of this, because we have our basic assembler here. And nothing can attach to that cargo-wise, I should say. You can still attach blocks to it, but cargo-wise, it's kind of just there at this point. And then I'm going to widen this just a little bit. And then I'm going to get our assembler. And same thing, I want it facing the same direction as our refinery. Making sure the ports touch. And there we go. Now I'm also going to get another cargo container. Except instead of doing the small one, we're going to go ahead and do a large one. Now, you can go for the industrial cargo container, which just looks a little better, or you can go for a regular large cargo. Whatever you feel like doing. The only difference between them is the looks, of course, but then the industrial one does not have ports on the top or bottom. It is only on the four sides. So for this case, I'm going to go with the regular large cargo container. Now I need some interior plate, which I don't think we have. So we're going to go ahead and have it make us up some. And it looks like we are out of iron again. So I'll have to go get some more of that. Let me get that so we can set this down. Now, if you run into an issue like this where it doesn't seem like it wants to snap, it's because it's for some reason gone to a small grid. So the only way to fix, or not only way, but the easiest way to fix that is just to hit that number again. There we go. Sometimes it bugs out a little bit, which is fine. We're going to go with the regular cargo container. Awesome. So now what we could do is go into here and get all of our stuff for our build planner. We have it listed down below. And there's our button. Go in, tell it we need all of that stuff. But instead of doing that, I'm just going to get rid of that. And I'm only going to do the refinery or the assembler at this point. Main reason being, the assembler can make full blocks. So I'll show you what I mean. We'll go ahead, we'll get the components for that put into production. I need to go get some iron really quick, because we can see, looks like we need some cobalt too. So I'll get some of that while I'm over there. And we need 1,300 iron ingots. So it'll only just be a minute. So we have all of our stuff. We'll just get this operational. Cool. So the one reason I wanted this one done first was because if we go into any of the control panels for this, so we can get parts through here, which is kind of cool. But if we go into production and we look at the industrial assembler, we can actually just have it order up the full blocks. So if we just look for cargo, we know we have the regular large cargo, and it will order up everything we need. Same thing with refinery. We have the industrial refinery. We'll just order one of those as well. So let me make sure we have all the parts. We'll get them welded up, and we'll be all right. All right, all components successfully withdrawn, and that should be our refinery. Lovely. So now we have even bigger versions of what we started with. I like it. So what I'm going to do next is actually widen this up a little bit. Let me get some steel plates, just so I don't have to jump, you know what I mean? And we'll just put this in the ground just in case something happens. make sure it's not going anywhere. Oop, jump up a little bit on there. But what I want to do next is actually get mining up and running a little easier. So first thing I'm going to want to do is get rid of a little ship here. This way we can bring anything we need to off of this end and go into the hillside here, like I was talking about in the last episode. So go ahead, grab your grinder, and get to demolishing. And then we can put it all just into our new large cargo container. All right. I think that is our ship completely gone. So the next thing we're going to do is make mining for us a little bit easier. So normally, if we were on a flat surface, you would kind of, I guess, make a drill pit. But what we're going to do first, since we're kind of on the side of a mountain, is make a small ship that can get us a little more material. Or actually, you know what? No, let's make a drill pit first. Because that will get us more materials minus the cobalt. Um, we can just go get cobalt by hand, which is fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to go off of... Where should we make this at? Why don't we make it off of the O2 gen? So what we're going to do, we're going to need to get rid of some of this. Go to our conveyor and cargo blocks. And then we're going to look for the conveyor tubes, which I am missing them for some reason. Oh, they're just with the conveyor junctions. For some reason that slipped my mind. Then we're going to need to look for pistons. And then rotors. Now, when you do the rotors, you want to make sure it's an advanced rotor. That way it can give the stone that it digs up to our cargo network. And then the last thing we're going to need, of course, is a drill. And there we go. Now, we are going to go off the front here because this is just a starter base. I'm not too worried about what the surrounding area looks like. I'm going to get stuff to make this. I want to come out just a few. F5 should be okay. And then what we're going to do is attach our piston to that. Or no, you know what? What we're going to do is attach our conveyor junction to that. Now, what we should probably do is get some light armor blocks just to bring this into the ground. So that way it doesn't go all weird on us. Gonna need some steel plates. Kind of like that. We're gonna bring this just straight down, just so it's in the ground and doesn't do anything funny on us. Now we're gonna take our piston and we're gonna place it going straight up. And then on top of that, we're going to put our rotor. Now, on the rotor, you see it has the numbers there. There's 180, 90, 0, and 270. We're going to want 0 facing away from the base. That way, when we're controlling it from down there, we know which way it's turning. So we want 0 facing away. Now we're going to need another conveyor block. And then we want another piston coming away from that. Something like that. And then one more conveyor block and one more piston. Good. Actually, you know what? We're going to add 2 pistons here because we are up quite a ways. So let's go ahead and add 2. Now, at the end of that, we can put on our drill. And this will be a nice little kind of back and forth scenario. So if you think of it like it's just going to make one big circle, and then we can push it outwards to get more, and as well as going deeper into the ground. So you guys don't have to sit through it, but I do. We're going to get all this welded up. So we have our drilling rig. We know it can turn left, right, but problem is when we go into our control panel, we don't see which one's which. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to each of these pistons. Just press F on them or K to open up the control panel. And we're going to say piston vertical up. We only have one rotor, so we know which one that is. Piston horizontal. And then piston vertical down. And then we're going to do vertical down 2 on this one. Just like that. So now we know which pistons are which. Now, the other thing we want to do is come into here, go to our rotor. Where are you at? There it is. Advanced rotor. I don't know why I was looking for just rotor. The one thing we want to do on here is its limits. So its lower limit, we don't want to be unlimited, because if it is, it'll just keep circling around, it'll hit our tubes, and everything breaks, and we have a bad day. So we want to come in here, and if we hold control and click on that, we want to say lower limit is negative, I'll say 91. That'll give it a little bit to go with. So that will only go about 91 degrees that way. We can go a little more. That's why I gave it 91. But I don't want to go any more than that just in case. Because as the distance goes out more, that 1 degree can turn into a lot. Wrong part. There we go. Our upper limit will make the same thing, just positive 91. There we go. Now, the other thing we want to look at is on our drill, we want to go into the control panel and turn it on. Now, you see how it's just bouncing back and forth and all that, which is nice. It's realistic. But it does cause problems when these start going full extension. So what we're going to do is from this one, we're going to hit share inertia tensor. So basically what that's going to do is tell these pistons that they're all on the same grid and minimize that bounce. So we want to do just these 3. There we go. See how much less of a bounce that has now? And we'll even go on to the rotor and do it that way. I don't believe... Yep, there it is. So now it has even less bounce. Now it's going to have a little bit. A little bit's okay. We just don't want it going back and forth. So we did see that is hitting the ground already, starting to dig a hole. So if we go into our inventory, we can see that's our basic refinery, industrial refinery, probably already got the stone and did what it needed to do with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to our first piston. We're going to do its velocity is negative 0.5. So we want to change its maximum distance to just, let's say 3 meters. Or not 30, 3. I'm sorry. And then just hit the reverse button. So now that we set the maximum distance, that's only going to go to that 3 meters. It dug its hole. We'll let it sit there for a minute. Make sure it's nice and cleared out. And if we go into our control panel and look at our inventory, we can see our industrial refinery is pulling in all the stone that it's picking up. Now, to get it to actually do the cool stuff, we're going to take our advanced rotor and we're going to set its velocity to just negative 0.02 and see how fast that is. Now, that should be bringing it to the left. It is, but very slowly. So, we're going to set that to, where'd it go? Negative 0.2. Now you can see it's moving. We started out really slow like that because we want to make sure it's actually going to keep up. And it's going to clear the stone and be able to do what we want it to do. Which is good. It's moving, it's picking up the stone. If we actually go in, you can see the drill's picking it up, about 430 at a time. And then our industrial refinery is just grabbing it and turning it into what we need. Beautiful. Now, the part that makes it even better is with the Automatons update, we can pretty much fully automate that whole system. Before, we would have to have control buttons. We would have to put down, let's see, one of these. And we would have to make each button do a certain thing, and you'd end up with like 2 of these button panels just to make this thing do what we wanted it to do. So instead, what we're going to do is go into grid automation. That's what we want. So what we're going to grab is a couple of these event controllers, and we're going to get timers. Yeah. We want a couple timer blocks. We might not need the timers depending on how this goes, but we will see. So I'm going to start by putting 2 of these event controllers over here, and we'll get those welded up. There we go. Now, what we want to do is do event controller left and event controller right, just so we can see exactly what we're doing. Now, our drill is currently all the way to the left. So what we want to do is come in here, go to our event controller left, and we're going to change the event to angle changed and equal or greater than, and we're going to do negative 90. And then we're going to take our advanced rotor. We're actually going to wait to do that because it's currently at that. So we want to make sure it doesn't do anything. We want to do advanced rotor here in the section, and we're just going to make it hit reverse. We're not going to worry about a second one for right now. So now that we have the action selected as reverse, we'll come down here to our advanced rotor and add that block. So now okay, so we want to make sure it's equal to or less than for the negative 90. That is my bad. But now we can see that that's going left and right. Cool. So now it's going back to the right. So while it's doing that, we're going to set up the same thing. We're going to change this to angle changed, equal to or greater than 90. We're going to make the action our advanced rotor and just tell it to reverse. And then we're going to go down to our advanced rotor and add block. So now, if we watch, when this comes all the way around, it should automatically start going back the other way. Let's get a little better view of it. So here we can see that the ground's just a little too high. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the maximum distance for our piston and bring it up to 2 meters. And we're going to reverse it really quick. We might have to help it along here a little bit. There we go. So now it'll just keep moving. Now if we take our piston and go back to 2 meters, we might have to help it just a little bit until it gets to that 90. But it's already there. And you can see it's already started to go back the other way. Cool. So we'll keep that right there for right now, because it will clear out these little bits that are right here. You can see it kind of clearing them out. It might not get all of it, but it'll make it a little bit smoother. So now that we know we have our drill able to go in both directions with our 2 blocks, what we want to do now is get it to go down by itself. So in order to do that, we need to do a couple things. You see, I've brought this piston all the way up and put this piston in a good spot where it's level to the ground, which just so happens to be fully extended. If you're able to fully extend it, great. That'll make this just as easy as I'm gonna do. If not, you may have to fiddle with it a little bit in the future, but we will get to that when we do the extension of that piston there. So for right now, I did add a programming block. Or not a programming block, timer block, I apologize. So with this timer block, what we're doing is making the delay all the way down. Its action is going to be to reverse the rotor, and then the piston is going to be decrease minimum distance. Okay, not maximum. We want to do minimum. Yeah, minimum distance. I think it's decrease. Pretty sure. And then what we're gonna do is have both of these event controllers in its actions go off of that timer block instead of the rotor itself. So we will remove this from the toolbar and do the timer block. Now, we'll do the other one. Get rid of the advanced rotor. And we will go turn on our stuff and see how it works. Toggle block on. And toggle block on. So, if this is done correctly, when the drill gets to the 90 degrees on either side, it should trigger this piston to go down a little bit. And just to make it a little easier, we'll bring in our spectator with F8. And I'm just going to kind of line my crosshair up with the top of that drill, just to see if it lowers. And it should be about right here that it does. And there it goes. Now, all we have to do is sit and wait. Because this will eventually keep going all the way around. It'll drop down a little more and then come all the way back, which is good. So that's the basics of the automation. Next time, we'll get into a little more complicated stuff on making the drill rig go out by itself and maybe making a little mobile drilling rig. Well, not mobile. A second drill rig over by the Cobalt, so that way we can make a little drone to kind of carry those back and forth for us. But with that, I'll leave you guys to it, and you all have a wonderful night. See you later, everybody.